Once upon a time, there were a man and woman who had long wished in vain for children. These people had a little window at the back of their house for which a splendid garden could be seen, which was full of the most beautiful flowers and herbs. It was, however, surrounded by a high wall, and no one dared to go into because it belonged to an enchantress who had great power and was dreaded by all the world.
One day the woman was standing by this window and looking down into the garden, when she met with just plain with the most beautiful rampion flowers. Not in the area is Rapunzel. It looked so free and green that she longed for it. After some time of pining away, the woman began to look pale and miserable. Her husband became alarmed and asked, "What ails you, dear wife?" "Ah," she replied, "if I cannot eat some of the rampion in the garden behind our house, I will die."
Actually, the cliff dove over the wall into the garden of the enchantress, hastily closed a handful rampion, and to his wife. She at once made herself salad of it, and ate it greedily. It tasted so good to her that the next day she longed for it 3 times as much as before. He has been much one more descent into the garden. Therefore, in the gloom of the evening, he let himself down again. But when he had clambered down the wall, he was terribly afraid, for he saw the enchantress standing before him. Wait, I only made up my mind to do it out of necessity. My wife saw your ramping for the window, and felt such a longing for it that she would have died if she had eaten some. The enchantress, allowing her anger to be softened, and said to him, "I will allow much give me the child which your wife will bring into the world. She will be well treated, and I will care for her like a mother." Months later, after the baby was born, the enchantress gave the child named Rapunzel and took the baby away with her. When she was 12 years old, the enchantress shot her into a tower deep in the forest. In the way at the top, there was a little window, and the cry, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let your hair down for me."
When she heard the voice of the enchantress, she would unfast her bright tresses and let her hair fall 17 feet down. The enchantress will climb out the hair into the tower. After a year, the king's son rode through the forest and passed by the tower. There he heard a song, which was so charming that he stood still and listened. He rode on by the singing had so deeply touched his heart that every day they went out into the forest and listened to it.
One day, when he was standing behind a tree, he saw the enchantress get there, and heard how she cried, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let your hair down for me." Rapunzel let down the braid of her hair, and the enchantress climbed up to her. "If that is the ladder by which one mounts, I too will try my fortune," he said. The next day, when it began to grow dark, he went to the tower and cried, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let your hair down for me." At first Rapunzel was terribly shocked to see a man, but the king's son began to talk to her quite like a friend. With his word Rapunzel lost her fear when he asked her if she would take him for her husband. She laid her hat is his, and said, "I will willingly go away with you, but I do know how to get down. Bring with your asking for silk every time that you come, and I will wear a ladder with it." They agreed that until that time they would come to her every evening, for the woman came by day. For many days, the enchantress did not realize this was happening. When he discovered her, in her anger she clashed Rapunzel's beautiful dress. Then she cut them off, and the lovely braids lay on the ground. And she was so pitiless that she took poor Rapunzel into a desert, where she had to lie in the great grief and misery. The enchantress fastened the braids of hair, which she had cut off, to the hook of the window. When the king's son came and cried, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let your hair down for me," she let the hair down. The king's son answered, but instead of frightening his dearest Rapunzel, he found the enchantress. "Aha!" she cried mockingly, "you were fetched, you dearest." But the beautiful bird no longer sits singing in the nets. Rapunzel is lost to you.
The king's son was beside himself with pain, and in his despair he leapt down from the tower. He escaped with his life, but the fall into which he fell pierced his eyes. Then he wandered carefully about the forest, and wept over the loss of his deserted wife. Thus they ran for some years, and at length came to the desert where Rapunzel lived in wretchedness. Far away he heard a voice, and it seemed so familiar to him that he went towards it. When he approached, Rapunzel knew him, and fell on his neck and wept. Two of her tears watered his eyes, and they grown clear again, and he could see with them as before. He led her to his kingdom, where he was joyfully risen, and they lived happily ever after. The end.